Now let me also save this as one more factor, and I will call this as measured common factor. So let us say, just for our analysis, okay, let us say that in this case, MOBS 1, 2, and 3, okay, these were items. Okay, I'm going to remove these. Okay, and I'm going to remove these ones. Okay, let us say that these are items of okay, so let us say you had measured. Now this becomes a social desirability factor, SD factor, which you had measured, which you had actually measured. So you had these three indicator items, okay, of this measured factor, MOBS 1, 2, and 3 of this common factor. So now what you can do is, yeah, so you have now measured this. These are the three indicator items, and rest of them are the items belonging to the other constructs of your interest. Now when you run this, we will have their error terms, okay, and we will run this analysis. Yes, because we have to pose one constraint here for creative behavior because we removed those three items. Okay, so now this has become, so what we have done, we have measured these three. This becomes the indicator items, and now you test the estimates between your factors. Okay, so it becomes, so if you had measured social desirability using items, you will model it as a latent factor with its indicator items, and then you will also load this factor on the three constructs: procedural justice, leadership, and creativity in this manner. Does that clarify?
Sir, does it mean that the social desirability was not part of the earlier model, and then we only introduced it to ensure that the common
Yes, obviously. Yes,
care?
obviously, because you were earlier what you were testing, you were testing leadership, procedural justice, and creativity. Now you want to account for social desirability while you are testing these relationships.
Okay, sir. Now I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Ramini. Yes, Dr. Vivek.
So it means that if we apply this common method and if it turns out to be insignificant in our case what it came, so we should not report it then, because then significance has been reduced to insignificant.
Yes. Yes. So you remain quiet that you don't know how to test common method factor.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Got it.
Yeah. That
Sir,
you are unaware of this method.
sir, do
Yes.
we collect data for social disability
Yes,
just for
you
the
will.
sake of calculating common method?
Yes, yes, yes. So either you measure it, so you should, while you are collecting data on leadership, procedural justice, and creativity, you should also ask people to report social desirability. And then you model it in this manner.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't,
So there is no.
if you don't measure, if for example, let's say in your data you have not collected it, then you should do it in this way. this does not have any indicator items for common method, but you can still model it like this.
So do we have to provide any theoretical justification for collecting that data?
Yeah, so you should, and if you go to the other issues, I have given you two very good papers. So this is the very, very popular paper, Common Method Biases in Behavioral Research. I would recommend all of you to read it. Okay, and if you go to page number, let me just show you. If you go to page number 13 of this paper, you can see this. So table 4, page number 13, how you, so he has mentioned, the authors have mentioned multiple ways. So I just showed you social desirability, right? So you should model it like this. So social desirability has, you have collected data on the 3 items of social desirability, and you have also loaded social desirability. Okay, so it is controlling for the effects of a directly measured latent methods factor. Otherwise, if you have not measured social desirability, controlling for the effects of an unmeasured latent methods factor. So this is the other method that I showed you. Okay, which is how you would control if in case you have not measured it. So I will recommend either one of these should be at least tried out to check in your analysis whether it is giving you a good, whether you are still getting significant result after accounting for these common method factors.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, Shilpi.
Yeah, sir, one thing I didn't get why we are putting that as a latent variable, not as an independent or observed variable. Like if
Which
we are
one?
taking this, so the CM, so
Huh.
if we are taking the social desirability, so we are measuring it, and why didn't we put it as an observed variable, and we put it in the latent variable?
Because we are saying that there is, because it is a latent factor. Now, what are we trying to capture using CM? We are trying to capture that there is some bias in you. There is some bias within you, which is impacting the way you respond to these items. So this is just like we have been talking up till now, that this is an abstract idea, and through the observed items, we are trying to estimate the bias, the latent factor. Therefore, we model it as a latent factor,
Okay.
the hidden
And sir,
factor.
sure, sir. So in the other question is like in case of scale development, also we have to do that,
Scale
or this is
develop.
just for the
No,
model testing?
this is usually for model testing. So when you will do nomological validity testing, for example, you may do this kind of.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes. Tejasvi.
Sir, how to do this common method analysis for if it is a path analysis, like
If it is a,
using path analysis that we usually do it in this moderation and mediation.
then you cannot do, then you will not be able to do. Yeah. So what you can do is you should account for now in your methods in your measurement model. Actually, if you were
Okay.
to do, using observed variables, then what I will recommend is go to your measurement model, and now you model a method factor here, common method factor here. Okay, you call it as common method factor, and then you load all the items again,
Okay.
just like we have done. Okay, and then you impute after accounting for the common method factor, impute the values of lead, procedural justice, and creativity.
Okay.
And then do your path analysis using the observed values of leadership, procedural justice, and creativity.
Okay, sir.
Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Ashwin?
Sir, I read in few papers, they say that the respondents' responses, they were told that it will be kept anonymous, or the dependent variable was placed first and the independent variable later.
Yes. So that is called as procedural technique. What I have just shown you is called as the statistical method of analyzing common method factors. So if you read this paper, they talk about techniques for controlling common method biases. In this paper, they talk about two things: procedural remedies. Okay. So what are the procedural remedies? Obtain measures of predictor and criterion variables from different sources. Okay. Then they talk about anonymity here, counterbalancing question order, which you just mentioned. Okay. Protecting respondent anonymity and reducing evaluation apprehension. These are called as procedural remedies. What are the statistical remedies? Even after doing all this, you may still get some bias, and in order to do that, you actually perform these kinds of analysis. Is that okay?
Sir, so both, yes, sir, both should be performed, both
Both
procedural
should,
as well as.
yes. So while you are collecting data, you should do it. But once you have the data, what you should do is this.
Okay, sir.
This is called as the statistical remedy. What you were mentioning, ensuring anonymity, explaining the need for the study, etc., etc. That is called as the procedural remedy for common method bias.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Akash.
I have one question.
Go ahead, Raman.
Sir, when we are saying if path is insignificant after doing the common method bias, then what are we going to do about it? We'll leave that, I mean, in the model.
No, you will have to report that my path becomes non-significant after I bring this common method factor. That means there is a significant impact of this bias in the analysis of your data, right? In the relationships that you have, right? So the only option is don't report it. Okay. If you report it, then obviously there is nothing left to report thereafter.
Yes, sir. And sir, second thing, so we are not, if we have not collected data about social desirability and other, that emotional one. So in the CM, from where are we getting our data?
It is basically estimating these from these items. It is automatically computing what would be its value. Yeah.
Okay,
So
sir.
because it is also loading onto all these items, right? So it is extracting the latent factor values from all these items of the other constructs. That is a reason why today, if you read literature on these remedies, this model, which is measured factor model, common method factor model, is considered to be better and more accurate than this common method factor model. Okay, so even today, if you have a choice, then measure social desirability or measure emotions or some common factor. And where will you get that? From your literature, reading of the literature, which you can model. So what other researchers have modeled as a common factor, you should measure data on that and then use it in your analysis. So this is considered to be better than common method factor. But in case you have no option, try out this at least to see what is the.
And sir, a very basic question. So when we are saying it occurs when there is a common source, so which common source are we talking about?
You are the common source. The respondent is the common source, right? The person responding to the items is the common source.
Okay.
Yeah, because I am the one who is responding to leadership, to procedural justice, to creativity. So my bias is coming out consistently in all my reports of these items.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Sir.
so I need to model that bias also, which is this abstract latent factor CM. Okay. Yes. Any other question, Akash? I see your hand raised.
Yes, sir.
Huh.
Sir, we have social desirability as a part of our model. Like we want to explore its relation through our model itself. In that case, sir, the same data could be used in both the roles as a latent construct in the model and as a correcting factor for common method.
Yeah. So here, the moment you model it like this, social desirability, what has happened is it has obviously you have estimated social desirability and you have also corrected these paths automatically, leadership, creativity, and procedural justice. You have corrected these relationships for social desire. That means you have accounted for social desirability. So if you can show that these paths are significant after this model, then it is a very good test of robustness basically of your relationship.
Sir, I want to ask, suppose in this model, if we want to explore the effect of social desirability, let's say on creative behavior also. So the same data could be used in both the roles, in the both ways.
Both ways means?
Means one for correcting the common method, accounting for common method biasness, and one's for our exploring the relation between these two constructs, social desirability and creative behavior.
So you are saying something like this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can use it, not a problem. Yes, so you can actually create this path and then work with it. Yeah, so let us test it. It should work. It will probably, it is, why is it 1? No, it is, okay, the variance is set to 1. If you have modeled these items, okay, then maybe you cannot estimate this direct path, because then in that case you should then model remove these arrows, and then model this path from social desirability to creativity, right? Because it cannot have two sources. You are also having eigen and you are then testing the path between these two, because then these two constructs may have more, they have the common source here. So you should not model it here. I think so. Yeah.
Sir, can we do a bootstrapping here?
Huh?
Can we do a bootstrapping, sir, here?
Yes, you can do. There is no problem. Yeah, you can do it. Not a problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
Usually, Akash, you would not do this kind of you would usually load social desirability on the items, and you don't need to test the path between social desirability to creativity here. Okay. In case you
But
want,
sir, if social desirability is one of the variables in our model itself, then how to account for common method?
then you will not. Okay, if it is already a factor in your model, then maybe you will have to drop these arrows, okay, because you have already measured it, and then you model this path here, and it should now give you an answer. Yeah, it will now run. Okay, because you cannot load the factor on the items and then also test a path between the two latent factors when they have the same items also.
Got it.
Yeah. So that is the Okay, so let me remove this and then I will create all these parts again and load this as well with the same definition. Okay, so now you will have this. So this is on analyzing the common method